Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to go ahead and call to order the November 29th, 2022, 3:02 p.m. Canvassing Board Certification Meeting for the November 8th, 2022 General and Special Election. I am Canvassing Board Member Julie Wise, your King County Director of Elections. And with me, I have Canvassing Board Member Susie Slonikar, the Chief Deputy in the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, and Stephanie Sirkovich, Chief of Staff to the King County Council. We are staffed today by Geraldine Hampton, our King County Elections Ballot Processing Manager. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed via the King County Elections Facebook page and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel after this meeting. Now we will hear from Geraldine Hampton with an overview of this general election.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Before we get a summary of the election, I've got a few items to present to the board. The first item being ER-4000. It's 15,468 mail ballot challenges that are inside the system. So items such as return too late, signature missing from the envelope, signature does not match, those type of ballot challenges.
I move that we vote to reject the ballots on the list that Ms. Hampton just shared with us.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that. Second item is ER-4001. And this is a group of challenged ballots that are primarily outside of the system. It's 846 prior election ballots. So during an election cycle, we will regularly get ballots from a wide variety of previous elections. This list of 846 also includes 15 ballots where we did not realize it was a prior election ballot until after opening the envelope and past that secrecy barrier. So we could not remove credit from the voter. So of the 846, there are 15 of them that are still credited voters.
I move that we vote to reject those ballots as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And final item is provisional ballots. So PV-8000. There are 24 provisional ballots. These ballots are from voters who are not registered in King County, but used our residential address lookup on our online ballot marking program. They accessed a ballot and returned it. We researched them to find out that, again, they're not registered, therefore we cannot process those ballots.
I move to reject those ballots as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now a summary of our election activities for this last November 8th, 2022 general election. Turnout, we finally made it. We got to 69% turnout, although we were projecting going into this election that we were hoping to hit 72%. In contrast, back in the 2018 general election, we under projected and we actually hit 76% in that election. It was very busy. And then in the 2020 general election, we were able to hit 87%. Again, that was a presidential election, so no surprise. That translates into over 911,000 return ballots that we processed for this election. Vote center activity, we had 6 vote center locations as well as our student engagement hub at the UW open this election. They were very, very busy. We saw more than 8,600 voters at all of our locations this election, nearly 5,300 voters on election day alone. This far surpasses what we've seen at vote centers in the past for a non-presidential election. The top 3 locations were Seattle Lumen Field, King County Elections here in Renton, and then Bellevue College. For drop boxes, we had all 76 locations open for our voters throughout the county. The most utilized boxes were no surprise to anybody who's been watching these meetings. Ballard Library got first place with almost 21,000 in returns. Our headquarters here at King County Elections came in a close second place with a little over 20,000 ballots, so not too far apart from Ballard. Total Dropbox returns came in at over 547,000 ballots, which is over half. It's like 60% of our total returns. 45% of those Dropbox returns came in on election day. So real busy election day for our Dropbox team. Challenges. So we just spoke a little bit about challenges. We ended this election with almost 15,500 mail ballot challenges. Of those, 18% were returned too late. So that's a lower number for the return too late than previous elections. We have had, we ended at just over 12,600 signature challenges at the end of the election, which translates into 1.4% of total ballot returns. About 40% of those voters who were initially challenged for a signature issue did in fact return a signature cure letter to help us count their ballots. However, the 40% return letter rate is a little bit lower than we see typically in primaries and generals. It's usually about half of those letters we send out will come back from voters. For provisional ballot activity, we just spoke about those 24 ballots from people we were unable to count, again, because they were not registered. You're able to look up your address, access a ballot electronically. The actual validation of those ballots happens on the inbound process. And so we are vetting every ballot that comes in to ensure that they're eligible voter and have a good signature. So we were unable to count those 24 ballots. For any election of size, we have to get additional help. So we hired over 330 temporary staff to help out our crew. We've got about 65 full-time permanent staff here, so we needed the extra help. And we hire folks for a variety of jobs like customer service, all of the ballot processing tasks and data entry as well. Observers. So this election, we piloted a new program. We wanted to add into the fold nonpartisan observers. We really wanted to expand the number of people who could come and watch the process up close and personal, have the opportunity to ask questions and really get to learn about the election process. We forged a partnership with the Seattle King County League of Women Voters to help us facilitate this addition, and it worked out well. Overall, though, I trained up 79 party observers and 7 nonpartisan observers before we started processing ballots. So we actually ended up having 316 visits throughout this election period. Let me tell you, that's a lot of observers. It was great. This is our most observed election in the last, I don't know how many years. We can compare back, let's see, in the 2020 presidential election, we had 242 visits, and that was in a presidential general election. And then in the 2016 presidential election, we had 291. So this election surpassed the last 2 presidential elections in observer attendance. Moving on to post-election audits. Every election, we conduct a post-election audit called a batch audit. So this is a process where we randomly select 6 batches of ballots. This is approximately 1,500 ballots or so, and do a hand count of a randomly selected contest. I actually have a set of numbers in a bowl and I have an observer pick the number. That's how we pick our contest. We do a hand count on those actual original ballots. We compare into the tabulation system what the results were or are in the system to prove that every batch is coming out accurate. So for this election, we audited the state advisory vote number 40. We found 0 discrepancies in the batch audit process. In addition to the batch audit, we also do what's called a risk limiting audit. So this was the 3rd time we completed a risk limiting audit in our elections. This audit was conducted. This is an additional audit to the batch audit I just talked about. A risk limiting audit is a little bit different than a batch audit. It's another way to take a post-election review. However, this one is taking a random sample of individually voted ballots. So individual ballots, not batches of ballots, and it compares each vote on the marked ballot against the tabulated vote for those individual ballots. And so the purpose of this type of audit is to provide statistical confidence that the winner is really the winner for that contest. For this audit, we reviewed 59 ballots. The contest was picked by the Secretary of State's office. And it was Congressional District Number 9, U.S. Representative. And again, just like the batch audit, we found no discrepancies when we went through this exercise. Recounts. We currently have no contests that are requiring a mandatory recount. A mandatory recount would be triggered if there's a difference of less than 2,000 votes and also less than 0.5% of the total number of votes cast for both candidates. That gets you into a machine recount range. Hand recount would be triggered if there's less than 150 votes and also less than 0.25% of the total number of votes cast for both of those candidates. There is a deadline coming up to request a recount from the counties. That's Thursday, December 1st. And then there's a separate deadline to request a recount through the Secretary of State's office. That deadline is Monday, December 12th. I am super happy to say that we are reconciled overall with 0 discrepancies. Hooray, this is our 27th election in a row with 0 discrepancies. So shout out to all the team doing a great job. But we are always looking forward. So the next election is right around the corner. That election is actually on Valentine's Day, February 14th is the special election day. And our first canvassing board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 23rd, and it's at 2 p.m. And that is my summary of general election activities.
Thank you so much, Geraldine. I really appreciate you staffing this canvassing board, and kudos to you and to the ballot processing team and to every single one of our election team members, family members there at the elections office, and of course, the hundreds of temporary employees that also come usually quite regularly to help us with every single election. We couldn't do it without all of you. So congratulations to the King County elections team. I just love some of the points that you made, Geraldine. Would just like to emphasize some of them, that this team proved once again to live out our vision, which is to be the leader in providing inclusive elections, as well as our mission, which is to conduct accessible, secure, and accurate elections, following true to our values of integrity, equity, accuracy, service, teamwork, and transparency. I know one of the things in this election that we focused on is that these are oftentimes national and state certified election professionals that are running these elections, that we believe in radical transparency, and of course the bipartisan observers. So, and of course, all of those audits and tests and checks and vetting of the system to ensure that they were accurate elections. Congratulations to the team. Thanks to all of the voters that turned out for this election. Canvassing board members, do you have any questions or comments for myself or Geraldine before we head into doing signing some oaths?
No, I just echo all the comments you made for the with regard to the election staff and the great job that they do, and especially Miss Hampton.
Ditto. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
And thank you all, canvassing board. We know that this you all are busy in your full-time jobs, and we appreciate your service on the King County Elections Canvassing Board. With that, I think, Susie, you will have me take an oath.
I will. Julie, if you could please, I'm going to read you the oath of authenticity, and it reads as follows. King County Director of Elections, Julie Wise, do you solemnly swear that the unofficial returns and supporting documentation of the general and special election held on November 8th, 2022 in King County, state of Washington are true and correct?
I do. Our next item is the certification of the canvassing board, and it reads, the undersigned officers designated by law as constituting the canvassing board for the County of King, State of Washington, hereby certify that this is a full, true, and correct copy of the abstract of votes, including the number of registered eligible voters, cumulative results, precinct results, and report of votes cast at the general and special election held on November 8th, 2022 in King County, State of Washington.
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
Hearing no further business and no recounts on the table and an election on Valentine's Day, then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. I am officially adjourning the King County Canvassing Board meeting for November 29th, 2022 at 3:17 p.m.